We would then bring it back to the office, make changes on it. That evening it would go out to 3D print again, and again then back in front of the director, and it made the process really, really quick. The actual director and the actors could hold them. We could lock down sizes, what worked silhouette-wise, what didn't work, and make appropriate changes from there very quickly.
So if you don't mind me asking, what were the hours like during production? Because I can imagine this was 24 hours a day.
Yeah, hours are really long. But when you're doing something you're very, very passionate about, I mean, we're all Star Wars fans, so for us, it's not work. It's basically you're doing what your passion is, what you love doing. I mean, if we weren't doing it here, we'd probably be doing it at home anyway. So,
could you explain to me? I think we were just not really rolling there, stepping on board the Millennium Falcon for the first time.
Yeah, it was breathtaking. Walking up that ramp and being surrounded by a ship that had been on the screen or in your imagination, but actually walk up and look at it yourself and look at the lighting and everything working around you. It was breathtaking. It was a real back to your childhood moment. I think everyone gets excited. So.
Can you watch? I asked it upstairs as well. Can you watch these films and enjoy them, or do you just see the work that's gone in, or the bits that you kind of missed, or the bits that weren't as you wanted it?
It's really, really hard detaching yourself. I think with most of us, the first time that we watch film through, we're always looking at particularly the props, the sets, making sure that everything works. Look at the lighting and how that interplays with what we've created. But I think a lot of us, especially for Star Wars, we tend to see it a couple of times. So the second time we tend to detach ourselves from that, follow the storyline and get into it that way.
So how does it work down here? What goes on in this room specifically?
Okay, well, with us in the movie-wise, is that we will get a lot of concept artwork here and a lot of prop shop. We make stuff traditionally, but a lot of the stuff that we do now we do digitally, 3D, and that goes to our printers, which are large format printers. So I mean, I suppose that's different. We look after a lot of the regular props, but we do all the hero props of the films as well. With the process, I mean, when it comes over to the studio edition side of things, I mean, as a collector myself, the most important things for me are, quality, finish, accuracy. If you can't buy the actual prop itself, you always want to get something that's genuine to the prop. And I think we've achieved all those three things. When it comes to quality and finish, well, the people in the workshop that are actually painting these props for Studio Edition are the people that painted them on the movie itself. So you can't get better than that. I mean, they have very intimate knowledge. With us, when it comes to, we look after the geometry of things. We've got a very intimate knowledge with that. I mean, we were with these things from the fruition. For example, Kylo Ren's saber went through about 13 different odd versions. And we were there right from the beginning, from every nook and cranny, we know all of it. The difference is that with the Studio Edition, the files that we used in the movie are the same files that we use for the Studio Editions, and that's a big leap there. So basically, with the way it works is that we would then take the 3D prints that would get finished off. They then go onto set. So Kylo's saber, for example, as a hero prop onto set. Any dents and scratches, which happens a lot on set, any changes made to it, then come back to us as a hero prop. We then laser scan them, and our laser scanners go down to about 2 microns. So every surface detail's there. We then project that all back onto the digital file, which is then used to go ahead and to make these props. And so, we police all of that, make sure that what you see on screen is exactly what we're giving you in Studio Edition.
So how many people would you say were involved in the construction of one of these things, roughly, and how long does it take in general?
An army of people, quite over a long time. I mean, more so the hero props. A lot of the props that are peripheral props, their life cycle's a lot shorter. With stuff that's got to convey a lot of things and tell the story, it's a lot longer. Like there's probably 13 or 14 different versions of Kylo's saber, for example, until we got something that works.
Do you have a favourite piece that's out there? I don't know how much you know about, well, presumably you know the entire range, but do you have something that you're particularly fond of?
Yeah, you've got to pick a side, and most people seem to be rebels. I'm an Imperial myself, so Finn's helmet is classic for that particular scene. Plus the look of the stormtroopers, the new stormtroopers, I fell in love with that, and definitely anything to do with Kylo Ren. So his saber and his helmet are two of the iconic pieces that I intend to collect myself.
And I'm presuming you're not going to be collecting a life-size Millennium Falcon cockpit, or will you? I don't know.
No, I think that would end with a quick divorce. So if I had the room, I probably would.
Because that, again, I was going through the list upstairs of things, but that's the biggie. That's kind of like, that is proper collector kind of stuff. I
Absolutely.
mean, how close is that to what was on set? Is that
identical? Same process that we use for a Hero handheld prop, we use for the Falcon. So basically, the digital files go into it. Things change a little bit on the set when things get built. They modify things, and then we would then take in LiDAR and laser scanners, scan the entire set. That comes back to us digitally, gets processed and cleaned up, and then from that we then produce the props and collectibles from that data as well. So if it's there on set, it's there in our file as well.
As far as I'm aware, this is the first time this has kind of been done, certainly on this scale. I mean,
Yeah.
What's the feedback been like so far? Because they've been out in the US for a while now, haven't they? I think.
They have, yeah. It's the way of things to come. It's what's allowing a collector to do is to get their hands on the props made by the props company that worked on the film. So basically, they have access to studio props that that as collectors we couldn't get access to beforehand. So.
And is this, presumably the second one is underway, is this something that you can see kind of carrying on from film to film?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, definitely. Even in the sequels, in this sort of Star Wars, it's the way we'll be handling things, in the future.
And presumably you can just tell us about all of the things that are going to be in the next film and what you're already working on.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah.
Weird, no,
just have to watch the spot.
Like I said, just wondering what the trickiest thing for you was to get right, or the hardest piece, or the story with the piece that went back and forth the most, and why?
I think the piece that went back and forward the most was probably, I'd say, with JJ, the evolution of the saber. The first saber that we came up with was very different, but it was what people were probably expecting, and he wanted something that was iconically very different, that was imbued with the characters. So the chaos that you see in it, the unfinished rawness of it is Kylo Ren himself. And so because a sword is supposed to be imbued with the soul of whoever wields it, I suppose there was a strong connection, and JJ kind of had a really strong idea of what he wanted. Like a lot of directors, he knew what he didn't want, and so it was tweaking. It was a lot of finesse, because we knew that, like a lot of things in this movie, it will become an icon for the next 30 odd years. Plus, we'd assume that a lot of this in the time frame also will be used again, and so therefore, we've got to get it right.
Does that kind of sit with you, the fact that these things will be iconic for 30 years? Presumably you can't think about that when you're actually sat here trying to sort this out, like the pressure of that kind of level of scrutiny.
It is. It was a big thing, and that's why I think we cared so much about it, is because we knew that it was going to be under reflection for not just us, but for generations to come as well. And so it's really important for us. It was very important for JJ too, especially with 7, because yes, there is that 30-year leap, but he also, adamantly all the way through, I don't want anything to look like Star Trek. It's got to look like Star Wars. And so there was a lot of back and forward to make sure that it had the futuristic leap, but it was very grounded in the old Star Wars way.
Yeah, well, you all did a brilliant job.
Oh, thank you very much. You're welcome. That's fine. Did you want me to?
Yes, please.
Do a couple of spin rounds?
Yeah.
Do you want me to unplug this?
Please, please.
Okay, cool.
I've just got to change batteries, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm only talking about this for my own sake, but these are basically all the pieces here for Kylo Ren's saber that it takes to make the saber. And that's the end product. So as you can see, all the scratches, the nicks, all the damage to this area here, it's all exactly what you see on the screen. And of course, that's your studio edition, which I'm very, very happy. There is no compromise in quality. You know, this has got, it's metal, it's got all the weight there, which is important, especially when you're old school. I pick things up, and if it's light, it just doesn't have that feel. I've got to have that kind of weight to it. So,
if it's shooting lasers out of 3 holes, you don't want it to. Needs to be fairly sturdy.
They did well, didn't they, with
Do you want me to tell you the story behind that? Don't know if it's going to be off record or not. But there's a story behind it. The old sabres are obviously Japanese style, right? The new sabre is a salute to the broadsword, the heavy sword. But it was at one stage when we were milling around in the early days, and JJ said to James and myself, he said, you know the original Star Wars poster? It's like, well, yeah, we do. And he said, the big lens flare that's on it, you know, the big lens flare. How about if we took that literally? That's like, yeah, so you're suggesting what, a sword? And he was saying, well, yes, but the guards, instead of, everyone calls them guards, are exhaust ports. And because the crystal's damaged, and like the character's personality, the sword is in constant flux. Yeah. How about we have these as exhaust ports that kind of, when it belches and there's too much energy, it kind of fires out the sides, which also works as a hilt as well. Yeah. And of course, everyone's sort of like, well, you know, would you get your hands cut off? But the whole idea of
when this came out, everybody's like, it's really dangerous.
Yeah, but the whole idea of a lightsaber is that you can't cut through the beam, and because the beam travels through the guards. So what it is that this beam here is there's a lot of people sort of saying, well, were there emitters on the sides? No, what it is, the main beam comes up, and inside, when there's excess energy, it just belches, it just exhausts out the sides. And so that's where the sword came from.
Isn't it, where you kind of come and you go, good for us, I did quite a few people, and everybody was just so, you know, as you would be, everyone was so passionate. And I think that's the thing, if you're kind of in a room for 12 hours, answering the same questions over and over again, but you're that passionate about it, you know, kind of, it's not about, let's figure out the toy that we can sell loads of, it's just like, does it work in the story?
Yeah. There were some epic looking props, some great looking bits and pieces that no one's seen, because they didn't make it into the film, simply because it either detracted from the storyline, introduced carrying, the use of crowd control, I don't know what it is, but during a part of the film, there's a scene that people go, wow, and so we came up with the taser that he uses when he sees Trader. So, and we based it on a police baton with some. Unlike a lot of movies where they have a definite what they want, with this there was so much going on,
which is lovely on the creative side.
Absolutely. So yeah, so we.
Any consumer products, Disney Store, the TV channels, so Disney Channel, but also any kind of ABC studio production. What else do we cover? Live events, so anything in that, I believe, is set before A New Hope.
Right.
So it sort of gives the backstory almost to how we got to The New Hope.
Plates aren't the easiest thing, really, are they?
Is it introduces new characters?
Thanks, Amy.
Do you think I could get a wide shot of the office out there? It's just because you've got that Star Wars stormtrooper figure standing.
Do you know what? You're going to have full-size figures up in the workshop.
There we go. Get it then. I wasn't sure what was coming next. So I don't know.
No, you'll have those.
Okay, that sounds a lot better.
Your mum's dream.
Yeah, I mean, my parents didn't smoke, so they're quite pleased I didn't, but I don't know really, I just never, my of my friends did. I did date a guy when I was really young, and he smoked, and I just tried it, and I don't know. But then I don't know.
Quickly, if you don't mind mentioning, how quickly do you think you could get DNR type stuff over? Is it kind of anywhere ready to go?
Yeah,
Because we'd obviously rather wait.
The stories definitely for the personalised maquettes.
Okay,
Being scanned in the head rig.
That's it. I mean, it's
and
one of
then
these things.
3D
The more, the
printing.
better. Whatever you have, we'll
Okay.
take and
Cool.
do stuff with it. So yeah, whatever you've got.
Like the filing bit is probably not something that's very good to get. You're better off getting a
All right.
It's lovely.
Nice.
Very nice.
Thank you. Just going to stick the same for my keys on. Sorry to dismantle your toolkit. I promise it will peel off.
What about Stanley?
Well,
Oh God.
Stanley's kind of not as obvious as.
Yeah.
Should I get rid of my
Wait for
chewing
us to
gum?
move.
Milling around behind.
Yeah. I do it from here.
Stanley won't stand out as much as.
Yeah, I'll just wait for us to move that way. Cool.
Right.
Right. Yeah, if you could address answers to me rather than the camera, that'd
Yep.
be lovely. If you could, if you could just introduce yourself for the camera and just drop title, if that's all right.
Okay, Ben Crooks, and would you rather I said my name is first? Okay, my name is Ben Crooks, and I'm the head of prototyping and development.
Great, lovely. Okay, could you, in layman's terms, kind of explain what goes on inside these four walls?
Sure. So this is mostly assembly goes on in this workshop, and obviously we've got the 6 products that we're releasing in the UK in Harrods, and then there's other products that are getting released worldwide as well. So the stuff that goes on here is, as I say, assembly. So we'll be there's painting goes on over there, but the assembly work goes on here. So that's like putting together pose helmets, adding blast shields, adding the visors, adding all the engineered work, and any final touches. But there's all the whole range goes on in here as well. So there's Kylo Ren hilts, and there's Rey hilts, Rey staffs, Kylo masks, and all the other stuff that we do as well.
So how many people, I mean, how long does, say, I assume every item's different, but roughly how long do things take from when it arrives in here to finish?
That is a really tricky question. Some things can take, and it depends how you break that up also. So, some things will arrive and there'll be like an alley cast item. So like the Kylo Ren hilt. That's a purely aluminium cast, lost wax cast aluminium piece. So we'll get it in, we'll do some cleanup, and then that will have to go off to be plated, copper plated, and then it comes back and we paint it. So in here is a different thing to how long's the actual journey time from when the thing is actually crafted, like made, to when it's completed is two completely different things. So it's really difficult to say, but I mean, we'd hope that we're averaging out maybe 1 to 2 props per person per day. So, and obviously as the demand goes up, the labour force goes up, and but hopefully we can crack out loads.
Well, we've kind of seen various pieces. One thing we haven't seen, I think we've got some shots over there of kind of I can't think of the name of them, not the mannequin, but
the maquettes.
Yeah, could you speak a little bit about those? I don't think we spoke to anybody about those and how they work.
Yeah, sure. So the idea behind those is that we've got all of the scan data for all this, for the Star Wars films. So we had scan data for all of the characters, for all of the weapons, and then someone had the bright idea of integrating like facial scans and head scans of just everyday people and having those put onto the bodies of these like wicked characters. So the idea is obviously you get your head scanned in a proper scanning booth, and then we handcraft all the bodies and everything and do the final painting and all that sort of stuff, and then we bring the heads in, plop them in, and then send them out.
It's great. I mean, they look beautiful as well.
They're amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing.
Have you got, and it's probably like choosing between children, have you got a favourite kind of piece from the collection?
I do really like Bowcaster, but the piece that's kind of become the most precious to me over the sort of the time that I've been doing it is probably Kylo Ren's hilt, because the input, obviously to do it for the film is one thing, and that's like a 3D printed process, and then we grew copper onto it. But going forward, we've had to sort of subtly adapt that to make it one thing more durable. So now it's a complete aluminium body, but also to make it sort of manufacturable as well. So it's like, as I say, it's lost wax cast now. So it's like this amazing, solid, beautiful thing.
It's got a proper heft to it.
It really has. You could club someone to death with it.
Which we encourage. Could you, in terms of, I had a question, it's completely gone out of my head.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. I was just kind of whacking people over the head with stuff, I think.
I didn't mean that, actually.
No, that's all right. Are you kind of involved on any scale with because the one that's, apart from all these, the one that's taken my fancy is the life-size interior of the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Does that kind of come through here, or is that kind of...
Absolutely, yeah, it's all going to come through here. So we built obviously built the original for Episode 7. Along with loads and loads of other stuff for Episode 7 in the Falcon, so like all the chairs, the nav console, a lot of the set deck stuff, any of the panels, that was all us. So yeah, once that goes into production, that will come through Studio Editions. Like the original one, built in-house, the stuff that's going to Harrods, we've had our input in as well. And then yeah, going forwards, depending on how many we sell, obviously, hopefully they'll be done in this shop as well.
And it's kind of insane, because it'd be so much work doing it originally, and then having to do it all kind of
Absolutely,
again.
yeah. And but every time you do it, it becomes more efficient and more cost effective and quicker, and better probably as well.
Can you, when you're watching the film, can you enjoy them as films, or are you looking for bits in the background that you've done, or maybe that should have been different, or maybe that?
I've got a 4-year-old son, and he's completely obsessed by Star Wars, and so I have to watch the films at least twice a week. So my enjoyment of them is slightly fading, but I still, I do love them. So, but yeah, of course, when there's elements to them where, and future waves of merch that I sort of look at that we've discussed in the shop. Obviously, that's what I've got my eye on the whole time. So I don't watch them as films as much as research really anymore. So even, at 6 o'clock in the morning when I'm watching it with my son, it's...
But it's nice because it's like, Daddy did that, Daddy did that. I mean,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
don't really get that.
No, sure. No, he doesn't really get it either, I don't think.
One day. Did you kind of grow up watching stuff? What was it like when you actually got the commission in to do it? Because presumably they could have shot this anywhere, really, couldn't they?
Absolutely. Amazing, yeah. I massively grew up with Star Wars. Me and my brother watched it all the time when we were kids, same as my little boy watches it now. So yeah, it was an amazing feeling to actually get on the job.
And also, presumably, being at the first point of these things coming through, you'd be the first person to see the Millennium Falcon cockpit, you'd be the first person to kind of see all that kind of stuff. In terms of the actual items, do you know kind of what the most demand's been? Because obviously being on sale in the States, are you kind of getting more of one thing, or do you know what the most popular is?
Yeah, I mean the limited edition stuff's really, really popular. Obviously, people are just like, well, the other stuff they're kind of like, well, maybe we can get that later on or whatever. But sort of the limited edition stuff's really popular. The sabers are going through the roof, and there is only a limited amount that we, they're not limited edition, but there's a limited amount that we can build in the time that we've got, because it is also bespoke. It's kind of cottage industry. It's not something that we can just churn out like Hasbro do, or like Chinese factories. This is it for us. So yeah, I mean it's all really popular. So yeah.
And presumably you've obviously got stuff coming in from, I know the new film, we're not allowed to talk about the new film, but presumably you're still a working shop having to do all that kind of stuff as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So we've got plenty of other films on the go as well at the moment that I want to get my grubby hands on for merchandise. So yeah, it's never boring.
So I don't know how this will work, but in terms of like if I were to buy a Millennium Falcon cockpit, how would that kind of work logistically to get it?
Well, first off, you'd have to have quite a lot of money and quite a big house. But yeah, I mean, you put your order in. We've got our timescale that we work to get it built and hand built, and then arrange a time, and we kind of come around in a van with like 20 people and stick it together for you in your garden or your playhouse or your loft. Hopefully not your loft.
Cool. Well, thanks for your
Lovely.
time.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
Yeah, it's just
Good.
Can we get Andy to feed you another line?
Yes,
Like you shouldn't have said about Hasbro.
Oh.
We're getting trouble for that one.
That's okay.
And also, can we cut the price?
Oh, sure.
Don't reference,
The fact that it's expensive.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
not- yeah.
So yeah, if we just go on, I forgot what the question was. Kind of along the lines of how it works and